Hello everyone, and welcome to another one of my fantastic videos. Fantastic because I say so. And in this one, I have something special for you today. I have Atraxa Praetor's Voice. This is an update of the previous video that I had. I felt it was about time to give an update to the deck, considering that the first deck that I had was just a rough deck. Atraxa had only been out for 2 days at that point, and I kind of just threw something together. I went out and bought a bunch of planeswalkers that I liked, and a bunch of other cards that I liked, and kind of threw them together. There was still a lot of the original deck left, and it didn't really have a cohesive strategy. A lot of people commented that they didn't like that on the last video, so to those people I apologize, and I promise I will try not to give you any more slapped together in 2 days deck. I really wanted to get it out there to all the people who are looking to buy the product, and if that's not what you want to see, then I will put a little more effort into my decks before putting them up. But in the meantime, let's get right to the deck. We have the commander is Atraxa Praetor's Voice. This is a hybrid of dudes with counters mixed with super friends. I play 20 planeswalkers in this deck. A lot of people say that 20 is not enough to really call it a super friends, but I play by the rule that I don't like to have more than one or two of each planeswalker type. So I only have one or two Chandras, one or two Nissas, and because I don't want to have 5 Nissas all sitting in my hand and nothing to do with them. So that's how this deck is going to be. If you want more planeswalkers, put more planeswalkers. What can I tell you? So Atraxa for the proliferates, and getting right into the mana base of the deck. The mana base in this deck can still use quite a bit of improvement. Do it however you like. This is some improvements that I made. I went out and bought a few extra lands, but mainly this is stuff I had laying around. So let's get started. We have Command Tower for 5 color, Exotic Orchard. I have Murmuring Bosque, which also came with the deck, an excellent land. Botanical Sanctum. Then we move on to my shock lands. I have Godless Shrine and Watery Grave, I believe that is. Overgrown Tomb. Then I have my Ravnica Bounce lands. The Chancery, Golgari Rot Farm. Whoops, oh no! Then I have my Pain lands. I have Underground River, Yavimaya Coast, Llanowar Wastes. Then I have my Filter lands. I have the Dark Water Catacomb, the Sungrass Prairie. And then I have the Sand Step Citadel and my 3 color lands. Arcane Sanctum, Seaside Citadel, Opulent Palace. And then we have our 2 mana lands. We have the Temple of the False God, an auto-include, as well as Ancient Tomb. Then we have the Opal Palace. This is an underrated land. I really like this. If you're playing a deck where the commander needs to attack, or the commander's combat stats actually matter, this is an auto-include in those types of decks. Then I have a Library of Alexandria proxy that a friend gave me. This is not really an essential card to this deck, but I just put it in there just for some fun. I don't believe I've actually ever drawn any cards off of it. Anyway, it always seems to come way too late. Then we have Bajuka Bog for some Grave Hate. Then we have some Scrylands of the Temple of Plenty, Temple of Deceit, Temple of Silence. Then I have some fetch lands in here. Got the Flooded Strand, Windswept Heath, and the Polluted Delta. And then I have some basics. I play mainly forest because I play a lot of fetches in here. Actually, it's all forest and one island. I just realized that I did this a little while ago. I have no idea why I did it this way. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to take 2 of these forests out and put a swamp and a plains in here, just so I have the ability to fetch them. So that was definitely a mistake on my part because I play a lot of fetches, as you know if you've seen some of my other videos, like Sakura Tribe Elder, Yavimaya Elder. Both of these guys fetch basic lands. Moving on to more creatures. Odric, Lunarch Marshal. This guy, I haven't seen him in too many other Atraxa decks, but it's just an all-star card. I mean, if you think about it, Atraxa has all these abilities that just really go along with Odric. He's got the flying, the vigilance, the death touch, the lifelink. And you want to give all your creatures this, so to me it's definitely an auto include. Moving on, all of the creatures from here on in, I believe, are all going to be 1/1 counter creatures for the proliferate, and I do have a doubling season in here. That's another complaint I had about the original version of this deck, was there was no doubling season. And my argument is that doubling season is a target and dies really quickly. But I have bowed to pressure and put my doubling season in here. So we have Necroplasm, good for some control, as well as good for beats. Rayhan, Last of the Abzan, a fantastic add to this deck. Everything's going to have counters, so everything is going to be affected by this, and all your counters will basically stay in play. Colonian Hydra. Again, this is another card that came with this deck, and it is an all-star for this deck. It doubles your 1/1 counters in play, and mixing him with Rayhan just gets a lot of counters in play that never seem to go away, so we play him. Crystalline Crawler for some mana and some beats. If we already have the excuse me, if you already have the Commander or the doubling season already in play. Custody Soulbinders, good for making tokens, good for some beatdowns, so we play him. Angel of Invention. Funny story, I keep getting this guy in drafts, and he kills so bad in drafts. And I just take it out of the pack. I just show it to everybody. Haha, look, I got it again. It's actually pretty funny. Again, Fabricate. So it comes in with more 1/1 counters and can proliferate those 1/1 counters. As well as if you have Odric, it'll also give Flying, Vigilance, and Lifelink to all your other creatures, as well as the Anthem effect. So this is definitely an auto-include for me. Revelark came with the deck. A lot of my creatures are under the 2 power limit, so this is definitely a great include for this deck. I have a Proxy Academy Rector. I don't know why the Proxy guy picked this picture. It's kind of just some old lady. I don't know. For getting out that doubling season or an Inexorable Tide more quickly. So we play one of those. Then moving on, we have Scavenging Ooze. This is Grave Hate, as well as a little bit of life gain and 1/1 counter guy. Gav, Guru of Spores, 1/1 counter guy, makes tokens. Can't go wrong with him. Rashmi, another one of the few cards that I play without the 1/1 counter mechanic. Basically, pseudo cascade. A good include for this deck might also be Momir Vig, Simic Visionary, just because of his fetch effect, and he goes really well with her. If you saw my video with Momir Vig as the commander, I play her in it as well, and I fetch her first with Momir Vig. So they do work really well together. If you want to see that deck, I will attempt to remember to leave a link to it in the description below. Then we have Master Biomancer for some more 1/1 counters. Puts 1/1 counters on the non-1/1 counter guys to help get them with the rest of the team, I guess. Solemn Simulacrum and Auto Include in any EDH deck. Moving on to artifacts. I have my Soul Ring, Ever-Flowing Chalice, Astral Cornucopia, Felwar Stone, Darksteel Ingot, Golgari Signet, Simic Signet, the two signets that I play in this deck, Commander's Sphere. All those are my mana rocks, good for getting that commander out very quickly. Sensei's Divining Top, one of my proxy ones. I have so many regular ones, it didn't make sense when you keep paying more money, so I had some of these proxy one made. It's the little spinning doodad from Inception. So there we go, Sensei's Divining Top. Lightning Greaves for protecting Atraxa. Chain Veil, because like I said, this is a Planeswalker-based deck. There's 20 Planeswalkers, which are back there. We'll see them in just a moment. But Chain Veil is an auto-include in any Planeswalker-based deck. Moving on to enchantments, we have Sylvan Library for some draw and library top manipulating. Doubling Season. There's the Doubling Season. You all wanted to see Doubling Season. There it is. Of course, as soon as I bought this extra one, the price stopped going up. Go figure, right? But that's all right. I paid for it with store credit on trade-ins and tournament wins, so I'm not upset about that at all. Inexorable Tide for proliferates. Parallax Wave. This and its sister card, the Parallax Tide, which I don't play in here, but I'm thinking about playing. I'm thinking about adding a stacks element to this deck for version 3, and this is a very underrated card. It lets me, first of all, it has a Fading 5, which will put 5 fade counters on, and when you remove the fade counters, you exile a creature. Well, with Doubling Season, it'll come on with 10. So I could pretty much wipe out everyone's creatures and then keep this in play with Inexorable Tide and the Atraxa, the commander, and this will stay, their creatures will stay exiled for as long as this remains in play. So Parallax Tide is the same thing, but with lands. So I'm really thinking about getting a Parallax Tide for this deck and including it in the next version. Moving on, we have Manifold Insights. It's a new draw card. I think it's new anyway. Good for getting lots of cards in your hand very quickly, especially if you're playing against a lot of opponents. Then we have our obligatory fetches, Cultivate, Kodama's Reach. Then moving on, we have another sweet Skeletor, Demonic Tutor. If you saw my Brea video, Brea has another one of these in it. Regrowth, another proxy one. Fumigate for some board wipes. Then I have Limdol's Vault. A very underappreciated card. This is basically a pseudo-tutor. You keep going until you get the cards that you want in your hand, and then you put them on your library, and it's an instant. So you do it at the end of turn, and draw the card you want next turn, and have 4 more cards that you want waiting underneath. So this is definitely an auto-include for me. Brainstorm, because it's Brainstorm. Factor Fiction, fantastic card. Vampiric Tutor for some more tutelage. Mortify for some spot removal. Putrefy for some spot removal. Moving right on into our planeswalker setup, I guess you can call it. I play a Johnny Steadfast for the 1/1 counters and the loyalty counter. Second ability here, that's mainly what this guy's used for. But his other abilities are excellent as well. Gideon for some cheap blockers, as well as his emblem. Elspeth for more cheap blockers, for some destroying of creatures, and pretty much all the way across, good card. Garruk, faster mana, blockers, overrun. Garruk. Nissa for some blockers and some 1/1 counters. Whoops, almost. Stay put. Teferi. This guy, very underrated. Very, very underrated. I see him included in a lot of decks, but even still, if you're playing blue, you need to play Teferi. His second ability for untapping 4 permanents is just amazing. And his ult isn't too bad either. Tameo for some tameoing. Obnixilis Reignited for some card draw and some removal and a good ult. Liliana Vess, mainly I only ever use her for tutoring. If you saw some of my other videos, I mentioned that in other videos too. No real need for her other abilities, although if the ult does come into play at some point, it's still a good ult. Ugin for some bolting and some exiling, and his ult is awesome. Ajani, Mentor of Heroes, good ult. Can always use 100 life, and he does the 1/1 counter thing and the draw thing. I'll probably be replacing him as soon as the next set comes out, and we have that new Ajani that puts 5 loyalty counters and 5 1/1 counters. I'll probably either be replacing him or one of the others with that new version of Ajani. Sorin, Grim Nemesis, for some card drawing, some damage dealing, and some removal. Sorin, Lord of Innistrad, for his emblem and for his blockers mainly. Narset for drawing, for rebounds, and most of all for that sweet, sweet ult. Dovin, a little bit of control, a little bit of draw, and an amazing ult. Venser, being able to make my creatures unblockable is definitely huge. The blink effect is good if for some reason my guys are low on 1/1 counters. Some of those guys that I have that make tokens out of their 1/1 counters, I can use this to exile them and get them back, and plus his ult is pretty much a game win. Tameo, Field Researcher, for some draw, for some tapping stuff, and for an ult. Kaya, pretty much for the 0, again, same reasons as Venser. Garruk, Apex Predator, for some Planeswalker control, for the blockers, for some destroying of guys, so all the way around. And last, Vraska the Unseen. I don't know why they call her that. I see her. She's right there. Pretty much for the control factor and for her ult. And that once again makes another one of my fantastic videos. As always, I invite you to like and subscribe below. Please do that. Comment if you have any suggestions. As I said, I might make a stacks version of this deck, so I'm looking for comments for that too. Like, subscribe, share with your buddies, do all that good stuff, help keep this channel going. And as always, have a great